Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Money and Mindset Podcast. I am Sheryka Alford. I'm here with,
Anntricia Bray Smith.
and we are here to provide motivation to get out of debt, build wealth, and transform your outlook towards life. Today, we're going to talk about preparing for college and ways to reduce the cost of college, because as we all know, it is pretty expensive. And
Absolutely. 85% of the debt that I have to date is in education. And if I knew now,
or if you knew
if I
then,
knew then what I know now, that would look totally different. But nevertheless, it is time to put it out on the table and talk about it.
yes, let's talk about it. And as a matter of fact, in Anntricia Bray Smith's book, Time to Talk, there is a chapter that is specifically dedicated to talking about education. And this is so important. I know right now they're talking about ways to potentially, I guess, forgive college debts. The politicians are talking about it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't keep up with that because, the way I see it, as long as it's a debt that I have, courtesy of my husband, it's my responsibility and I'm going to have to take care of it. So anyway, what we'd like to share today are just some things for you to think about if as you prepare to maybe send your kids off to college or grandkids, or even if you just know kids, nieces and nephews. We just want to share some thoughts of ways that actions you can take to reduce or possibly eliminate that debt burden. So, Anne, you want to start off, because I say you are the education expertise, because that is your field.
No,
So,
well, certainly. I mean, when we get to thinking about college, I think one of the greatest mistakes that we make is that we don't wait till it's time for college before we start planning for college. Planning for college should start as early as sixth grade, and sometimes even earlier than that, depending on what our family dynamics look like when we have multiple kids and things like that. So, but I encourage putting a plan together as early as sixth grade. So if you are a young mother, if you are a grandparent, if you are someone that is invested in some child's education one way or another, if you can start as early as sixth grade, you have a greater chance of minimizing the debt as it relates to education.
so in our preparing, I noticed that one of the most popular ways that I've seen are 529 accounts, which I have two kids. I have 529 accounts for both of my kids. And actually, I have a 529 account for myself because, pre-COVID, I had started going back to school. I was taking a few college courses, and yes, you can use 529 accounts for adult students as well. Um, so that's an option. Are there any other options that you know of that could be beneficial in helping prepare for college?
Well, one of the things that I suggest in my book, Time to Talk, is that uh, as early as sixth grade, it's time then to look at that financial plan. So whatever that financial plan looks like for you, whether it's 529, whether you've invested in a Roth IRA, whatever that looks like for you and your family, it's also a time to start preparing yourself and start filling out for scholarships. Yes,
Hmm.
there are scholarships for youth as young as middle school. So it's always an opportunity to um, create and implement a financial plan for the future of your family as it relates to education. So another thing that I'm big on now is getting young people invested on starting a business of some sort that can generate some form of revenue and investing some of that revenue into their own education. That means they are accountable, they are intentional, they are responsible for creating revenue to support their future plans for whatever it is that they want to do in their life and in their career. It is a conversation that has to be had. Um, you know, also, um, kids that get allowances. So maybe those families that are already financially secure and start teaching their kids about money using their allowances. Excuse me, I hope I've said that clear enough for you to understand. Using that allowance money and putting it toward investments so that they can invest and generate income for their college in the future as well. So.
Okay, and let me just circle back around. You had mentioned a Roth IRA as being one way to invest for college. And just for those who may not be familiar, a Roth individual retirement account, which is also known as a Roth IRA. It is a type of investment account in which you invest after tax dollars. And even though it is an investment account, it allows you to withdraw monies without penalties for certain things, and education costs is currently one of those reasonings as of today, as we're recording this. Of course, and I have to say that because, you know, the people that are in charge, they can change the rules whenever they want to, but as of right now, a Roth IRA, you can use funds from that account towards education. And another thing that I'd like to point out, you mentioned you're into having young kids and teenagers start businesses and basically contribute to their own education.
Absolutely.
As well. Do you think by them having a little skin in the game, you know, do you think it will encourage them to apply themselves more so once they actually get to the point of going to college, as opposed to just kind of playing around and not?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at my grown kids now in school, plus number of years. And I think because the financial responsibility um, was solely on me for so long, you know, they did what they did as far as the debt that they've incurred, but they really didn't have a lot of the financial responsibility up front. And so I think that was a big mistake. I said, because, you know, there's sometimes things we take for granted, directly or indirectly. You know, we don't realize the sacrifices that our parents make when it comes to getting our education. And so with that comes any number of things. You know, they lack in one area or another. But I think having a child being directly responsible in some way or another, especially when it comes to money, just kind of bring a whole new awareness to the table. So they
Mhm.
realize how serious it is. So it's not only mom and dad sacrificing, now you're sacrificing, because maybe instead of buying that new jacket that you want right now with the allowance you have, now you have to split that up and save over the course of 3 months because you invested a portion of that money towards your education. So it just puts things in a whole different perspective. And so
Yeah.
I made that mistake with mine, but I refuse to make that mistake with my nieces and nephews and some of the others that I am invested in.
Mhm.
With their futures, I am totally invested, not only with family members, but just kids in my community as well through my nonprofit. I'm invested in their futures. And one of the things that that's on the table of conversation is that, hey, we're talking to your families about it. Let's talk to your families about what college looks like, because
Mhm.
you guys can go to college if that's what you choose to do. You guys are smart. You know, you guys are gifted. You're talented. And then, so how can you perfect, or how can you develop the talents that you have now so that it can financially support you later down the line when it comes to college. We have talented athletes, we have talented artists, we have talented speakers, all kinds of things that can help support, financially support education for our future. But talent alone is not going to get it there. There's things
Right.
you have to do now to help develop that so that you can maximize the money you're able to generate towards your education.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. Definitely. I agree. Yes, get them involved. Get them involved. And another thing, and I discuss this in my upcoming book, Many Money Lessons for Teens. That's coming out soon, I promise. But it's if you have them available, if you have a student in high school, AP classes, the advanced placement classes, if that's something that they're able to take, if you take those classes, you can take the test, and oftentimes if you pass the AP test while in high school, then they can count those for college credits once your kid graduates high school. So AP classes, the advanced placement programs, if those are available in your area, that's something that you may want to reach out to your school counselor about. I know my daughter Trinity, she's actually, she all of her classes are AP classes, and we just paid a nice chunk of change to take some AP tests, but I considered it an investment because I'd rather pay a few $100s today for her to take tests, and crossing fingers she passed them, than pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for the college
Absolutely.
credits later. So AP classes, that's one way. Um, Also, consider, have your student start out in a junior college instead of going straight to the 4-year college, because college credits are less expensive at the junior colleges. One caveat to that is that you would need to check the course listing for the 4-year college that you're interested in to make sure that the courses that you're taking at the 2-year college will transfer over. So that's something you just have to keep an eye on, do a little homework there. But yeah, that is an option, because that's what I did. But when I was going to school to get my bachelor's degree, I started out at a couple of the local junior colleges before I finally transferred to my 4-year college. Um, and be sure, parents, please help your kids with this. Research. I know our babies, they have a lot of different interests sometimes, and they may say, "Ooh, I want to go to school to be this, that, and the other." But before you actually get them enrolled and start putting forth money, time, effort, check that field and check to see, is that, what's the demand like in your area, and if there's not a demand there, are they planning on moving to a different area? Because what you don't want is to spend a lot of resources on getting a degree, only to find that your return on investment is just not there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I can relate to that so much. But one of the things that I stress to my children and to other kids, you don't necessarily have to go to college to work somebody else's job. You should be going to college to learn all that you can and see how you can make that your own. I think that is so important as well. Learn the language, learn what it is, learn the skills that you need to implement, and understand how you can apply that for your own, building your own brand, building your own business, building your own clinics, building your own schools, whatever that looks like for you. Because many college students, they have these degrees that are on the wall, but they're sitting at home because there are no jobs available out there. So I just honestly believe that you have the education. It's up to you what you do with it. And there, even though you qualify, there may not be opportunity for you. That doesn't mean that we give up on that. That doesn't mean that we give up on education, the college. route. It doesn't mean that. It just means that now we have to get a little more creative to see how we can use the skills and that we've learned to implement it and create things that we need, create our own opportunities, not only opportunities for ourselves, but others who are in the same predicament as we are in when it comes to looking for these jobs, because we know that jobs and things like that are scarce. Uh, I, I myself, when I um, finished college, with a master's degree, I could drive a bus. I was hired to drive a bus, so which is far from being a school counselor. And I haven't necessarily secured a job to date as a school counselor, but I use what I have to create a whole different path. And hey, my books are one of the secrets. It's one of my secret weapons. No, I may not be in your school, but everything you need to know about starting a plan for getting your child into college is right here. And what chapter is that? In Time to Talk, chapter 9 or chapter 10?
That's in chapter 10. And by the
Abs-
way, there's a link in the show notes to where you can access the books, Time to Talk, and actually all the books that Anntricia Bray Smith has written.
yeah. No. So nonetheless, guys, don't get frustrated in it. There were years I felt bitter because, hey, I don't have the job. This is not what I went to school for. I felt like doors were closed in my face. But hey, I had to get creative. And as I'm creative, not only have I opened the door for my family and the people that are in my circle that listen to me, and the people that I'm directly engaged in their life, in their education, but also even for you. I don't even know you, but yet you have access to my knowledge. You have access to that. I'm telling you, from sixth grade on up, what you can do to help plan and prepare your student for college. And if you're like me, if you're a parent who maybe your kids are already in college, it's not too late to even look at some of the other chapters on finance and business and things like that to see how you can generate revenue, passive revenue, to help pay down some of those debts and get yourself back on track for a better financial future. It's all about mindset. If you look at closed doors as a no, a permanent no, then you're going to stay in the same situation that you're in, not only financially, but as it relates to college and things like that. But if you decide today that, hey, there's got to be answers, there's got to be someone that knows what I'm up against, and get out there and get intentional about it, you can, from today forward, change and shift that direction and move toward uh, a better education for your family and a better financial future, because it is directly tied together. You cannot separate one from the other. It is tied together, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, lots of great nuggets in there, lots of great nuggets in the book to help you create a plan and see what that looks like for you and your family.
Yeah, and I know we're saying college, but also don't sleep on the tech schools.
Hmm.
I know I've taken courses over the years at our local tech schools, and they provide some good instruction.
Yeah,
They have, so if maybe if maybe your child, maybe they're not quite sold on college, because I mean, I'll be quite honest with you, in my opinion college may not be the route for everybody,
hmm,
or also maybe directly right after high school that may not be the appropriate time for everybody.
absolutely.
So just to kind of test the waters, you can maybe look into your local tech schools if you have those available. They have some good programs too.
Absolutely, those trade schools,
Hmm.
technologies, all that. Yeah, it does. Good trade. And that's one of the things that I can say that I made it important for my student to my girls to do when they were in high school was to learn a trade so that they can financially support themselves when they were adults. So, you know, our schools in Oklahoma here, they allow our students an opportunity to attend the local technology school in the 11th and 12th grades. And many times that's free to your students. And if there is a financial investment, it's a very small investment that you have to make on their behalf. But hey, we've been planning for this in sixth grade, so they already have it in the bag, ready to support whatever financial investment that looks like when they're junior and senior in high school. So those are some questions that you're going to want to be asking, some of the things that you're going to be looking into leading into your child graduating high school and preparing for college. And no, college is not for everybody, but that doesn't mean that you fail to financially plan, because as we grow, we know that our minds change. They may not want to go to college now. They may have a business idea that they're ready to invest in. That money will be there for that. They may be 25, 35, 45 years old before they decide they want to go to college, but that money is there. It's growing, and it's there for them for whenever and wherever they decide to take that next step for their life. So don't neglect to just plan ahead. College is important. Any type of education is important. And remember that education is a lifelong process. Don't think that just because you got a degree in that field that it's done, it's over, you're through with that. Every day is an opportunity to learn. Every year is an opportunity to learn, every decade. So lifelong process, and that's the way we ought to look at it. And with that being a lifelong process, that means we have to plan financially so that we can obtain that as well. So
Yes, yes, very well said. And circling back around to the 529 accounts, because that is one way to prepare. Don't, um, I know one of the things parents may be concerned with, well, what if I start investing all this money into this account and, little Susie decides college isn't for her? Well, don't let that stop you. Um, of course, look at the requirements and the rules, but I know for the 529 accounts that I use, uh, if one of the kids, for whatever reason, let's say, if one of the kids gets a full ride scholarship and they don't need the money, then the money can be transferred over to the other child. I can use let them benefit from that. Or even to me, I can just easily change the beneficiary on the account. So don't let that stop you. You
absolutely.
always want to prepare.
Absolutely. And if you're like me, one that is invested in not only your family members, but other youth and families in the community, delegate that somewhere. Be someone who invests in the lives of other people. You know those single parent families who have that talented child. That talented child use all they have, all their gifts, all their talents to do best they can through high school, and then they graduate and they feel hopeless because they feel like they can't afford um, to go to college because that's what they've been taught. They may be the first one in their families, whoever is ready to take that opportunity. That is something where you can take and invest in the future of another student. Nonetheless, for you guys that are just joining us, you're listening to the Money and Mindset podcast with Anntricia Bray Smith and Sheryka Alford. And today we're talking about college. We're talking about college planning. And so, uh, you know, many times we take this thing for college for granted. Many of us, we think, why is college necessary? Well, there's never been anyone in our family who's went to college. We don't know. We don't know what we have in our family line. We don't know what our legacy holds. But I tell you what, even if you're 40, 50, 60 years old and you've always wanted to, it's not too late. You can still do it. You can still absolutely do it. It's about getting intentional. You may have to take one course at a time. You may have to take two courses at a time. You may have to go just one semester each year, but you can do it. You can learn something. So
Yes, and I am one of those, I was one of those non-traditional college students. I did not go to college right after high school. I was married and had a baby, and by the time it was said and done, I had another baby. I was working full time and going to college at the same time. So,
absolutely.
I mean, you know, it it's doable.
It
It's
is.
doable.
It is. It is. And for some of us, with what we're doing or what we want to do, it may only take one or two classes. We may not need the whole degree, but do something. It's okay to do something. It's okay to learn and get out there and just try our hand in it.
Yes, and also, what I didn't mention earlier that can be an option for some. If you work somewhere to where your employer, they may offer tuition reimbursement.
Absolutely.
So that's something to look into because, quite a few other employers do offer that. Now, we'll say if they offer it, make sure you get all the details because some of them may say, well, yes, we do offer it, but if you take advantage of it, then you're required to stay at the company for, a certain amount of time, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever the case may be. So just that's something that you can look into as well.
Mhm. Well, also, I didn't, I neglected to add, which I think I put it in my book there. But nevertheless, these parents that are having kids working and they work at McDonald's and Walmarts and Pizza Huts and things like that, Home Depot, these stores, these organizations, these companies, they have college plans not only for you but for your children and stuff sometimes as well. So that's something that you're also going to want to research in your area. I know McDonald's. We have a McDonald's here. We have a Walmart here, and they do have some kind of scholarship or something that is available for not only you but maybe your child, your household, or something like that as well. These convenience stores, um, 7-Eleven, and different things like that. So that's something that you want to go do the research on. Do the research on these companies and see what's available. This is money that's just sitting there, because if you don't know about it, you're not taking advantage of it. So do the research of what you have available there, not only in your little town or city, but also your state, and see what's available there. So nonetheless, we wish you well in your quest for college. Get my book, Time to Talk. Have it there in your home library as a resource tool to help guide you through your plan for education. Hey, I know a little bit about what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you have
A
how
little
many
bit of,
degrees?
I
How
know,
many degrees do you have?
I know a little bit. You may have stopped me from working in the school as a school counselor, but you can't stop my knowledge. You cannot stop it, and it's important. We need that information. So even if you don't have a school counselor in your school, let me be that guide to help get you and your family where you need to be as it relates to your preparation for the future.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, I guess we're getting ready to wrap up today.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And until next time, we'll see you back here at the Money and Mindset Podcast.